The wind swept softly across the old wooden porch. The house stood silent at the edge of the town. Its paint had faded into a pale ghost of white, and ivy climbed the walls as if trying to pull it down. Evelyn had not returned here in years. She had promised herself never to come back. But tonight she stood before the crooked gate, the key trembling between her fingers. Inside, the air was thick with dust and forgotten years. Each step stirred a whisper from the creaking floorboards. The smell of old wood and something faintly metallic filled her nose. She could almost taste the memory of her childhood fears. The hallway stretched longer than she remembered. Family portraits hung on the walls with cracked glass eyes. Her father's stern face watched her from the shadows. She looked away quickly, but the feeling of being observed lingered. A faint ticking echoed from the parlor. She followed the sound as if drawn by a thread. The old clock still stood on the mantel, its hands frozen at the same time they had stopped so long ago. 8:33. The night her mother disappeared. Evelyn's breath caught in her throat. The silence in the room felt alive. She could hear her own heartbeat thundering in her ears. And then she saw it. On the dusty armchair lay a thin trail of mud. Fresh mud, as if someone had just sat there moments ago. She stepped back, her shoe pressed against something cold. A silver locket glinted on the floor. It was her mother's. Her hands trembled as she reached for it. The chain was tangled, but the clasp still worked. Inside the tiny frame was a photo of her younger self, smiling beside her mother in that very room. The faint scent of rosewater brushed her senses. Her mother's perfume, the same one she had worn every day, the same one Evelyn had buried years ago. The air shifted. Something moved near the doorway, a shadow that did not match her own. Evelyn turned sharply. The door that led to the kitchen was open now. She was sure it had been closed when she entered. A low hum drifted from beyond the threshold, like the faint rhythm of a voice trying to remember a song. Her mother used to hum that very melody while cooking dinner. Evelyn felt her chest tighten as tears welled in her eyes. She stepped closer. The smell of smoke reached her first. Then the flicker of light against the far wall. A candle burned in the center of the kitchen table. Beside it sat a cup of tea, steam curling upward in slow spirals. The chair across from it was pulled back slightly, as if waiting for someone to sit. Evelyn's voice broke the silence. "Mother." No answer, only the sound of the wind pressing against the shutters, and the faint echo of that familiar humming growing louder. The temperature dropped. Her breath became visible. She could feel the cold spreading through the room. Her fingers stiffened as she clutched the locket. The humming stopped, and the candle flickered once, then steadied. Evelyn turned toward the window. Her reflection stared back, but there was another face beside hers. The same soft eyes, the same pale lips curved into a faint smile. Her mother's. The reflection did not move when Evelyn stepped away. It stayed in place, watching her, its smile widening. The house groaned under the weight of the moment. The sound of a clock began to tick again from the parlor. Slow and deliberate. 8:34. Evelyn froze. The locket slipped from her grasp and hit the floor with a soft clang. She looked back toward the mirror. The reflection was gone, but the chair across the table was no longer empty. A hand rested on the teacup, and the scent of rosewater filled the air once more. Evelyn stood frozen in the doorway. Her breath came in shallow bursts. The candle flame quivered as if sensing her fear. She dared not move, dared not even blink. The hand that rested on the teacup was pale and trembling. It looked fragile, almost translucent, but when her eyes followed the wrist upward, her heart nearly stopped. Her mother sat there, exactly as she remembered, wearing the same faded floral dress, the same strand of pearls that used to catch the morning light. But her face was wrong. Her eyes were open too wide, her smile too still, and her skin carried the faint gray hue of something that had been gone too long. Evelyn's lips parted. "Mother, is that really you?" The figure did not answer. It tilted its head slightly, as if listening. Then its lips curved into a softer smile, and it raised the cup of tea to its mouth. The sound of porcelain clinking against the saucer echoed in the silence. The tea rippled though there was no breath, no warmth, no life. Evelyn felt the chill crawl up her spine. Her knees weakened, but she forced herself to step closer. The air around the table was heavy, thick, almost hard to breathe. A faint mist rose from the cup, though the liquid inside was dark, nearly black. She could smell something strange. Not tea, not rosewater, something bitter, like burnt sugar mixed with damp earth. Her voice cracked. "Where have you been all this time?" Her mother finally spoke, but the sound was soft, distorted, as if coming from underwater. "Home. I have always been home." The words floated through the room and seemed to cling to the walls. Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. She wanted to believe it. She wanted to run to her, to hold her, to feel warmth again. But then the figure lowered the cup, and Evelyn saw it clearly. The reflection of her own face in the liquid. But her reflection was not matching her movement. It was smiling while she was not. Her body stiffened. The reflection in the tea blinked once. Slowly, deliberately, she stumbled backward. The chair scraped the floor sharply. Her mother's head jerked toward her. The motion was sudden and unnatural, like a puppet pulled by invisible strings. "Do not go, Evelyn. You left once. Do not leave again." The words came out more as a plea than a command. But the sound had changed. It was layered. Two voices speaking at once. Her mother's gentle tone mixed with something else. Something hollow and old. Evelyn clutched the edge of the table. Her hands trembled. Her vision blurred. Every instinct screamed for her to run. Yet her feet refused to move. The candle flickered again. The flame stretched tall and blue. And for a moment the entire kitchen glowed with that eerie light. On the wall behind her mother, a shadow danced. But the shadow did not belong to either of them. It was taller, its arms longer, its outline shifting like smoke trying to take form. Her mother's eyes turned toward it slowly. And for the first time, Evelyn saw fear there. Not the haunting calm from before, but raw, human fear. Evelyn whispered, "What is that?" Her mother's lips trembled. "Do not look at it. Please, do not look at it." But Evelyn did, and the moment her gaze met the shifting darkness, the room seemed to collapse inward. The ticking of the clock grew louder, each tick like a hammer in her skull. The walls pulsed as if alive, and the air turned thick, vibrating with a deep, low hum. The shadow moved toward her. Its steps made no sound, yet each one felt like a shiver running through the floorboards. Evelyn stumbled back, her breath catching in her chest. She turned to run, but the doorway behind her had vanished. Only darkness stretched there now, like an endless void. Her mother's voice broke through the noise. "Evelyn, listen to me. You have to finish what was left undone." Evelyn turned back. Tears streamed down her face. Her voice shook. "What do you mean?" The candlelight flickered again. Her mother's figure began to fade, the edges of her body unraveling like mist caught in wind. Her mother's voice softened. "You left me when the fire came. You promised to come back. You never did." Evelyn fell to her knees. "I was a child. I did not know how to save you." The shadow loomed closer, its form twisted and stretched, and from its center came a faint whisper, almost like her own voice. "You did not try." The sound pierced her chest. Every guilt she had buried all these years came rushing back. The screams, the smell of smoke, the way she had hidden under the old table while the flames climbed higher, and how she had run when the roof began to fall. Her mother's figure reached out a trembling hand. "Take it, Evelyn. Set it right." Evelyn grasped her mother's hand. It was cold, colder than anything she had ever touched. But in that coldness there was also peace. The walls of the house began to tremble. The windows shattered inward. The clock in the parlor struck once, then twice, then stopped. The shadow shrieked. The sound was like tearing metal. Evelyn clung to her mother's hand until the cold grew unbearable. The candle went out. Darkness swallowed everything. When Evelyn opened her eyes again, she was outside, kneeling in front of the old house. But now it was only a pile of ashes and charred wood. The air smelled of smoke and rosewater. In her palm lay the silver locket, warm now, and inside, the photograph was gone. Only a single word was engraved into the metal where the picture had been. Home. Evelyn sat on the cold ground for a long time. The wind moved gently through the ruins. Ash drifted like tired snowflakes around her. The silence of the night felt heavier than before. The fire was long gone. Only faint trails of smoke rose into the dark sky. The moon cast a pale glow over what remained of the house. And in that light, she saw something she had never noticed before. The ground where the kitchen once stood was covered with tiny wildflowers. They grew in soft clusters, pale blue and white, fragile yet alive, as if the earth itself had been waiting for release. Evelyn ran her fingers through the petals. They were cool, damp with dew. The scent was faintly sweet, reminding her of the rosewater her mother used to wear. She closed her eyes, and for a moment she thought she heard it again. That gentle humming, the same melody that once filled her childhood mornings. It floated in the air for a brief, trembling second, then faded into the wind. A calm settled inside her. Not joy, not sadness, something deeper, a quiet understanding that not all hauntings are meant to harm. Some only wish to be remembered. She rose slowly, her dress stained with ash and soil, and walked toward the old oak tree at the edge of the property. Its branches reached high and wide, still standing after all the years. Evelyn knelt beside it and began to dig. The earth was soft. When the hole was deep enough, she placed the locket inside. The silver caught the moonlight one last time, before being covered by the dirt. She whispered softly, "Rest now, Mother. You are home." The wind brushed her cheek like a touch. Gentle, fleeting, warm. When she stood again, the night felt different. Not empty, not hollow, but still, peaceful. As she walked down the path toward town, she did not look back. The house behind her no longer existed. Only memory and earth remained. But as she reached the gate, she paused. A faint light flickered where the ruins had been. A single candle's glow, steady, unmoving. Evelyn smiled. Her eyes glistened with tears. And she whispered into the night, "I remember." Then she turned and continued down the quiet road, the sound of her footsteps fading softly into the wind, while somewhere in the distance, a clock struck once more. 8:35.